Shop Talk Live, episode number 213.5. That's right, everyone. We started the 0.5 thing. I think we're going to stick with it for a while. We'll see. Again, we're going weekly during the isolation period, so there's going to be a lot of 0.5s coming your way. This 0.5, we have a one-on-one episode with contributing editor and director of Connecticut Valley School of Woodworking, Bob Van Dyke. Bob is one of our favorites, and for good reason. I hope everyone's doing all right out there handling this social distancing, and let us know if there's anything we can do to make your lives a little bit easier. I think I said it on the last episode. If you haven't checked out Michael Cullen's video workshop of Make a Bandsaw box, I just made a few, and they are so much fun, and they don't require a lot of stock. And on that note, I am going to start a movement to start calling them Cullen boxes, because they're Cullen boxes. So if you are making bandsaw boxes inspired by Michael Cullen, let's call them Cullen boxes. All right. Enough about that. Let's get to Bob. So we are here with Bob Van Dyke for a bonus episode. Bob, we've done these one-on-ones with Mike before, and there's no reason why he should have all the fun.
Hey, what the hell?
Because everybody just enjoys talking to me one-on-one, a little alone time with Ben, right? Bob, you're drinking beer.
Non-alcoholic.
Okay.
I haven't had a beer.
I want a beer.
I haven't had a beer in 25 years, you know? I got too good at it years ago. Yeah.
The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Beck's non-alcoholic. There's nothing better.
Sorry.
That's okay. The line at Starbucks was way too long. I never would have gotten here if I had done that.
I haven't had Starbucks in weeks.
Oh, see, that's my day.
Yeah.
I leave here.
Yeah.
I go to Starbucks drive-thru, and then I go to the school and I work alone, and then I come home, and then I do the same thing again the next day.
That sounds like Bob Van Dyke's favorite day.
It's just like, well, yeah, there is that, you know. Someone emailed me today and goes, it must be great. You must love, working alone all the time. I was like, yeah, not really. Turns out I actually do like people, Yeah, I don't want to
None of us would have known.
I don't want to burst any bubbles, I mean, oh my God.
We really thought we had you pinned down, Bob.
I can't. These guys that work by themselves, like, out in the middle of nowhere, and they see a single person, like once in I couldn't imagine. I mean, years ago, I was doing. It
sounds great, but
no. Years ago, I was doing a commission, and I had to finish it up. The guy was giving me a really hard time because I was a month late. Oh my God! So I took a week off and worked a set of chairs, and I worked on it to finish them up. And, I live alone. I was working in my own shop, and I was going bonkers. By 4:00 every afternoon, I would go down to the 7-Eleven just to hear a voice. The guy didn't speak any English, but that was close enough.
Yeah. I used to work in studios by myself for days and days and days.
I couldn't imagine.
It was like the taco truck across the street. That was the only person I would talk to.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Some people do. Not me, though. Yeah.
Well, should we answer some woodworking questions?
Sure. We can make up all sorts of stuff.
All right, cool. This first question is from Chase. Recently, I have been making larger case pieces. I live in West Virginia, and I have been bringing case parts inside for pre-finishing due to shop temperature and lack of dust. However, while putting polyurethane on the inside of each panel, I am experiencing cupping. While I'm familiar with why this happens, is it preventable? The stock is dry. Should I leave the pieces in my unheated shop and just deal with the lower temperatures and likely slowing time? So obviously he's dealing with large temperature fluctuations.
Yeah. Which basically, translates into large humidity fluctuations.
Okay.
Because it's not the temperature that's a problem, it's the humidity, it's the moisture. And I have a couple of questions about it.
Okay.
One of them is why are we pre-finishing everything?
Because of Mike Bekovich.
Yeah, and Mike is, and that's a very, we've discussed, Mike and I have discussed this more than a couple of times, and he's been slowly transitioning to that over the last couple of years, but it's different because one, he's not finishing the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, putting a wash coat of shellac on a panel is one thing. Putting a coat of polyurethane on something is totally different, because you're going to end up with a mill thickness from polyurethane. Even one coat is going to be way thicker than what you're going to end up with a wash of shellac or even a full strength shellac. Mm-hmm. And then putting, Mike is doing, a wash of shellac followed by a couple coats of water locks wiped on, wiped off. So you're very, very thin mill thickness there. And, one of the things is, so the material, using an oil and a shellac as opposed to using a polyurethane are really different. My first question is, why are you using polyurethane? And is it water-based poly or is it solvent-based poly?
Okay.
If he wants,
let's break that down, because there are good reasons to use polyurethane for lots of protection. But if you're using water-based, would you have concerns that you wouldn't have with solvent-based polyurethane?
Well, how do you say this nicely? It looks terrible compared to a solvent-based polyurethane. Mm-hmm. The solvent-based polyurethane, can look excellent. Mm-hmm. It doesn't wash out the color the way a water-based poly does. And it depends on how much he's putting it on. If he's doing a single wash coat, or is he doing a couple coats? Yeah. And is he doing it? It sounded like he's only doing it on the one face.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Which is huge, because if you're putting a single wash of shellac on one face of, white oak that's, say, a 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch thick, you're not going to have a problem. But if you're putting, and depending on how big it is, if you're putting a full strength polyurethane on, a panel, it might be thinner, and you're only putting it on one, and then how long are you waiting? Are you recoating it within, a couple hours or a couple days? Yeah. I mean, if I was going to do it, I would do both faces at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
I reading that question, I thought it was one face at a time. And I know, like Mike, if he's pre-finishing something, it's usually it gets assembled right after he pre-finishes it.
Exactly. It's not sitting around.
The joinery is holding it in place. It's not allowed to move after it's pre-finished. It's a wash coat of shellac and then clamped together or, glued up. So if you're waiting a long time in between, I think you're playing with fire.
Like anything. I mean, you're sitting around, if you're sitting around with done pieces, mm-hmm. and just letting them hang out you know, you're going to have problems. I mean, that's the whole reason in that one of the article I did last summer on milling. I mean, I put everything in plastic bags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Garbage bags. If it's finish milled, it's in a garbage bag, or it's stacked with a piece of plywood or something on top of it, so there's no air getting to it. You know, the whole idea of stickering a finished piece doesn't make any sense at all. You know, and you get the same thing going on here.
I have started taking your advice on that and have gone through more of that cello wrap, you know, cellophane shrink wrap stuff than I ever have in my entire life. Because now I just wrap everything tight and don't let it move. Yeah.
Garbage bags. Yeah. I mean, I put stuff, I have actually found, you know, like a bigger garbage bag than the usual, you know, and, you know, I can put pieces. I mean, I just left the shop an hour ago, and I put stuff, you know, 36-inch long pieces in this garbage bag, and I'll be back, you know, I'll be back tomorrow. But I did stuff, I had, and I think I might have done this on Instagram about a month ago, where I had a couple of cherry panels. They were 3/8 of an inch thick and about 24, 25 inches wide. And I glued them up, and they were flat last August. And a month ago, I pulled one out of the bag, and I put my 24-inch scale across it. It had cupped a 32nd of an inch.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So, or if I had let it sit out, and you know, then it would have been a potato chip.
There's no way around it, unless it was the perfect stock milled. You know, I mean,
yeah. And it was, I was like, I couldn't get over just a 32nd of an inch. I mean, come on. You
know? So for Chase, if he's bringing pieces into pre-finish, he needs to be doing both sides.
He needs to be doing both sides. He needs to be bringing them in, you know, like a couple of days in advance, not 20 minutes in advance.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Well, I mean,
just to let them get up to temperature too.
Yeah. And the finish should be the same temperature also.
Interesting. Okay. So bring them inside.
Yeah.
Put them in a garbage bag, clamp to a board or something like that. Keep them from moving. Let them warm up. Then put your pre-finish on. Leave them inside for a couple days. Clamped up if you can?
It would be let it dry completely. Yeah. But like you said, if you're gonna put finish on both faces. Okay. And the other thing is reconsider the whole pre-finishing. Now I'm completely good with wash coating stuff.
Yeah.
You know, pre-finish in a wash coat situation. There's no way I would finish, you know, completely finish something and then put it together. You know, to me, that doesn't make sense, because you're always going to have to blend. You know, you assemble something, you still have to blend things, you still have to tweak things. You know, the clamp just put a dent in something. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, other than wash coat, that kind of thing, to me, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Well, let's see. Question number 2 is from Larry. And Larry had Larry's building some bookcases, and Larry's got a many-part question. And I've decided to break it up among question answers. And so I think some of this is going to go to Mike Farrington at some point, who does a lot of built-ins, kind of his thing. But this part, I thought Bob is going to have some strong opinions on this.
I never have opinions about anything. What, are you crazy?
I'll have some strong opinions about fill in the blank. All right, from Larry.
Can we talk about? Oh no! All right, we won't go there.
The connection just got lost. You're dropping out, Bob.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on there. We'll talk.
Bleep, bleep, bleep.
That's one thing that's nice about this remote podcasting is that you're fully isolated, so I can make you say all sorts of things now.
Oh, good deal.
All right, let's see. I am building some built-in bookcases. What's a good method for attaching the top bookcases to the countertop of the base cabinets? So he's got two-part bookcases, built-ins. This is a key question for me, since I have no earthly idea what method would make for the best stability and longevity. As I see it, my options are biscuits, screws from underneath, although the placement could be problematic. A Selby keyhole, which I had to look up. It's just a metal keyhole.
Yeah, what I didn't get a chance to look up that one.
It's a metal keyhole that you could probably just drill like a 5/8 inch hole or something, and then screw the keyhole in, and it just gives you an actual metal keyhole that you could then attach a top and a bottom with. And the fourth option is cleats joining the cabinet and shelf backs. So what are you doing?
So the main method of attachment here is this thing called gravity. Okay. And that would be like really important in something like this. Okay. So
first off, make sure you have gravity.
So you want to be in a part of the country or a part of the world where you have a constant flow of gravity. Okay. Yeah. That's important. So this probably wouldn't.
Well, you hit this one with a running start, didn't you?
Well, I don't think you could get this. You might be able to get it into the space shuttle, but you'd have to. Yeah, it would take
look like a big.
Yeah, I have the picture here. I was like, yeah, okay, that's not going to fit in the space shuttle very easily.
Yeah.
So you got gravity, and seriously, all kidding aside, any two-part piece. I mean, we just finished one a couple months ago for Windsor, and the uppercase and the lowercase are joined, one with gravity, and then some screws from the lowercase into the uppercase.
Okay.
And that's, even there, lots of times you can get away without screws if you have like a molding. The Chapin high chest that we did a number of years ago as a class.
Yeah.
There's a molding on the lowercase, and the uppercase slides into that molding.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that's holding that thing, keeping it from sliding one side or the other. And then you've got this gravity thing that's doing the main work.
So, so basically you need something just to register it.
Exactly.
And keep it from moving laterally.
Exactly.
And then that other gravity thing keeps it from floating away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what I would do in this case, because I'm looking at the picture, and I would put a screw from the bottom into the top, into those uprights, and I would probably put two of them, one in the front edge and one in the back edge of those verticals, and that's going to do it. You got to obviously measure carefully, and double check that. And, because it would suck if you, measured wrong and all of a sudden the screw comes out where there's nothing to go into.
It never happens to guys like us.
Yeah. That happened to me once years ago. And it was the first time I ever learned about how to fix a a screw hole in plastic laminate for mica.
Ooh.
Yeah, someone had put the wrong size screw into the box of screws, and it came through. And I was like, "Oh my god!" So I learned about fixing holes in Formica. Not fun. So
that's why I always, when I worked at hardware stores, when you price the box of screws.
Yeah.
I always tell people put the price tag, the adhesive price tag, over the corner of the box, so that when I'm the guy buying it, I know that box has been sealed.
But what I do in the school, anytime I pull the screws out, I line up all those screws that I'm about to put in. I line them all up, and I make sure that they're all the same length. They might all be the wrong length.
Tip, okay.
They might all be the wrong length, but they're all going to be the same.
Consistent. Yeah. If I'm going to have one hole poking through the top, I want to have them all poke through the top.
Will Neptune told me a story. A buddy of his in Boston years ago was doing a huge conference table for a really swanky bank on Commonwealth Avenue. And he comes in, brings this huge conference table in. They had to assemble it in place. So puts the top down, and then gets the aprons and tells the kid, his assistant, "Give me the screws." Gives him a coffee can full of screws, and the guy screws the whole table, the aprons around on this big oval top. Goes to pick it up, and he goes, "Son of a bitch, this thing's way heavier than it was at the shop." Yeah, it turns out that there was wrong size screws, and not only did he blow the entire top out, but they had to put a new floor in this swanky bank conference room. Oh my god!
Because he went directly into the floor. So he wasn't going into a work table. He was going.
No, can you imagine? Yeah, I always check.
That's one of those. It's like somebody puked.
God! I was like, okay, I'm going home.
All right, so back to Larry.
Okay,
back to Larry.
So
screws.
So we got the other thing I might do is the cleats on the back.
Yeah.
I mean that's that wouldn't be the only thing though. I mean, I would still want a couple screws going into the bottom of the vertical in the front. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So I made tall bookcases like this one time that were semi built in. And I did a cleat on the back, and then and I thought that would be it, that would be enough. Sure. And I had found that when I put books like in the very top, if you pushed hard, it would just rock a little,
Yeah, I would think so.
And it made me uneasy. So I pulled it off and put a couple of pocket screws in the sides as close to the face frame as possible.
Okay.
But I realized that at that point, had I done this before the face frame went on, because it looks like in Larry's design, he's got face frames coming down. If he strategically put pocket screws in the back of the face frame, that could be, you're never going to see them. He had said that he didn't want to use pocket screws for the looks, but you would never see them in the back of the face frame.
But it would depend on how far going through the counter into the upright.
Well, no, going through the face frame of the upright into the counter.
Okay.
Because then you would.
Yeah.
That's just one little extra
you could
option
do that
he didn't have listed. And the keyhole thing, if people are dealing with this, that looked like a pretty cool idea. My question is, anytime I've used a screw for a registration point,
Yeah,
that screw never winds up exactly where I want it. It's like I can drill the pilot hole, I can, but if you're off a 16th of an inch, now your registration point's off a 16th of an inch. So I wonder about that keyhole aspect, but
the whole biscuit thing. I mean, biscuits. No, that to me that didn't make any sense.
Lamello makes like these clip together biscuits, these 2-part things. If you're really into that system, that might be something. But I don't. Yeah. So all right. So what well placed screws and cleats and gravity.
Yeah, I think that, and gravity is the main thing.
All right. All right. So crap. I didn't edit this question down from I am Bohan. I'm going to say Bohan this question is from.
Oh yeah.
And I meant to edit this down, and my son was in the shop doing his English reading work, and that didn't happen. So
well, that's more important anyway than what we're doing here. So come on.
I apologize, listeners. And Tom. All right. So from Bohan, I will do my best with the on the fly edit of this. I've never used an L fence before, so I'm not certain if this would work, and I could use a little guidance. I'm making a pair of nightstands inspired by Philip Morley's dining table from issue 275. The top of the table has a shape that's not perfectly square, it's slightly curved, and a bevel on it. Philip did it with a bearing. With a router bit bearing with a bearing guided router bit that's a thumbnail profile, and he can't seem to get it at a reasonable price in Canada where he is. There are many router bit profiles. I'm not looking to go down this rabbit hole right now. I'm still in the early stages of this journey, and there are lots of other tools I need to buy, so I'd rather not buy this router bit. I'm thinking of creating a large bevel on the bottom with an acute angle and a 45-degree chamfer on the top. So basically the crux of the question is, can he do a curved profile on the table saw with the L fence? So last time we talked about the L fence, I got yelled at for not explaining what the L fence is. So if you don't know what an L fence is, go to the show notes, shoptalklive.com, and there will be like 7 articles with Bob using an L fence and explaining what the L fence is. But it's just basically it attaches to the fence of your table saw, extends over the top of the blade, right?
Yeah.
And it is a new registration point for you to use in relation to the blade.
Exactly. What it's doing is, rather than registering against the table saw fence, it's a different place for the edge or for something to register against. So, you can be, if you put the edge of the L fence exactly flush with the blade, you can then cut exactly flush. You can make flush. With a pattern, you can be flush cutting with the L fence and the table saw, or you can make an offset cut. And all sorts of different things.
So
it's incredible.
You template cut with an L fence frequently. But those are normally straight lines, right?
Okay. Right. So the problem that he's got here is that if you're going to do like a curved cut, like he's talking about on the table saw, call 911 first.
Just have him on the ready.
Or whatever Canada's version of 911 is. Yeah, because that's that's asking for trouble. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, if you are not straight, on the table saw, you've got to have something straight to register against in order to do it. So no, yeah, there's no way. The router bit is an option.
So you've got a big curved bevel. Are you getting a router bit, or are you what's your options here as Bob Van Dyke?
If I didn't, I would either use a router bit, or what I would probably do is just do it by hand with a hand plane, and or a hand plane and or a spoke shave. I might do a router bit, on a router. Let's say a 45-degree chamfer bit, and maybe get rid of a lot of wood that way, and then finish it with a hand plane or a spoke shave. That would, into whatever angle you wanted. But that would be. It's amazing how fast that goes. People go, "Oh my God," but like I've demonstrated beveling the bottom of a table of a, like a hall table, and beveling the bottom with a hand plane, and it's faster than trying to set up the same bevel cut on the table saw. And with the machine, you still have to take the table saw, you still have to take the machine marks out anyway. So yeah, I would do it by hand. It's not a big deal.
I mean, thinking about it, when I think of Philip Morley stuff, it's all like, really, really precise bevels and things like that. And
I was looking, I have my iPad here. I couldn't find what's
if
275.
You went to finewoodworking.com/275. If I did my job, we're about to see. If I did my job, that works. Yes. Oh, it takes us to, all right. That's back when I was taking us to the online extras. Let's see. If you do finewoodworking.com/275 and click on the issue under it, it's the one with Pete Galbert on the cover.
Yeah. Okay. Well, because I have the all right. So it's the, come on.
It's his modern dining table. And it just has a very nice little thumbnail profile on the corner. So
that's
so maybe do it like you said, hog it away with a router bit or a hand plane, and I'm wondering if it would be worth taking the time to make a sanding block to get that final finish with.
Yeah, definitely. And a sanding block, making a sanding block with that blue foam insulation, like building foam. I do that kind of thing all the time.
I actually just had a really, really extra random thought, and I don't know why I keep this around, but if you're watching the video, this is a Bondo sanding block I made to duplicate door casing in our old house in Nashville. Yeah. And that is something that you could do, is like perfect 6 inches of this profile by hand. And then I think I just sprayed WD-40 on the piece of casing, and then cast that profile in Bondo. And then I put sandpaper on top of this, and everything that I ran, all of the door casing that I ran, I just finished it with this Bondo sanding block, and it was a perfect profile. And this is one of those stupid things I can't throw away.
Of course not. I would never throw that away.
So, and it's right.
Yeah. You can do the same thing with, I do this a lot. Like you said, you make 6 inches of it perfect. And I'll take self-adhesive sandpaper, put it on, that 6 inches, and then take the foam and sand the profile into it, into the foam. And now I have a sanding block to that exact profile.
Your 6-inch perfect block becomes the positive, and you create the negative sanding block.
Exactly. And you know, like you did with the Bondo.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's how we do the profile. That, you know, that tiger maple and cherry blanket chest that I do as a class came from John McAlevey from years ago. It was on the cover of Fine Woodworking in the 90s, and the profile on that raised panel, we make. That's exactly how we do it.
John McAlevey blanket chest.
Yeah, that was
all right. So Bohan, first off, if I'm saying your name wrong, I apologize. And so yeah, there's a couple of cool options. That sanding block positive foam thing is pretty amazing. So we should do an article on that or a video on that. All right. So this is a bonus episode. We're definitely a little bit over on the normal bonus episode time. So that about does it. So Bob, people can find you on Instagram at CT Valley, right?
CT.Valley, I think it is.
And what's your website? I don't think we've ever given your website.
It's schoolofwoodworking.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if anyone's ever in Connecticut, anywhere near it.
Exactly. Well, if you're near it now, unfortunately, just keep going.
You can't stop anywhere though.
Because we're closed. But the, you know, hopefully things are going to get back to normal, and I'm really hoping that the summer classes, you know, they did start out, you know, really strong. We had a lot of signups, and I'm hoping that, you know, beginning of June, you know, they're starting, you know, I have a class, and then Steve Lotta's got a class, and then Pekovic has a class, you know, so June is really strong if we can open the doors.
Well, as someone who's taken multiple classes there, I can say this to our audience, that not only is Bob, you know, one of our contributing editors and a frequent co-host on the show and all that stuff, he runs just about one of the stoutest woodworking schools I've ever seen, where, you know, I pick up a spoke shave in that school and it's sharp. It's not even just a junky. It's not a junky spoke shave. It's a good spoke shave, and it's a sharp spoke shave. And the same thing goes with chisels and everything there. And you've got two great rooms there. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, we do spend a ridiculous amount of time sharpening and tuning up hand tools, and I can't tell you how many students have come in with their own tools and they end up using mine. And
I think a great thing to take a class in is, you know, something that you've never done. Like I took that inlay class, right? And I didn't know where to begin. I didn't have the Dremel. I didn't have the little base or any of that. And I waited to go take the class so that I can ask you, and I could ask the teacher, what should I be buying? You know, so sometimes it's best to go to a school that's well equipped.
Well, that's what's cool too, because the school, we have all like hand tools, everything from you know, a couple Lee Nielsen planes to some Lee Valley planes to a whole bunch of flea market Stanley old planes, and the same thing with chisels. So you can try all sorts of different tools before you go buying anything.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I said, you know, and when they buy something and they bring this, piece of junk in, and I kind of go, yeah, do you still have the receipt? Because, you know, that was nice and shiny, but it was never going to actually be a tool, you know, and, you know, so it's important. It's important to understand. So,
and try things out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode of Shop Talk Live. If you have any questions you'd like us to answer on the show, please send them into shoptalkaccountant.com. We're going weekly now for a little bit during the isolation period, so I need more questions, folks. And we've got a lot of guest hosts coming on. I've been reaching out to a lot of people, so I'm trying to specifically pair the questions with the question answerer. If you're watching on YouTube, click that thumbs up button. Fingers crossed this video turns out, and we'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you for listening.